What's up, guys? I'm Uncle Freedom, coming to you on a glorious and well-deserved day off. Same day off. If you're seeing these in a line, you're like, man, that guy doesn't change clothes a lot. You're right, because it's the same freaking day, because I only have like one day off. It's the day before Thanksgiving as I film this. I'll be going to work, so hopefully you're hanging out with your family and you had a great Thanksgiving as you watch this, and you're getting ready for Christmas if it's not already Christmas. So, as always, like, subscribe, share, tell a friend. We are defeating the algorithm one video at a time, and it's freaking fantastic, and you guys all get a golf clap. Also, if you're looking to support the channel, take a look down below. That description box, there'll be a link that says support the channel. It'll either go to a Google Docs or to my website, depending on when it is that you view this. Follow any links you find on that page. If you were going to do it anyway and you use those links, it helps the channel out, and you get your cool gear, and for that, I thank you. So something that came up when we talked about fighting after SHTF, and this really kind of reared its head, and I was asked to kind of give my take on it, but I've seen it in person, and that is overt versus covert carry. Now, it seems really simple when you first think about it, but you would be amazed. The people that commented on that video or the law enforcement video are like, would you hassle a man carrying his rifle openly in downtown? Right. So we're going to address that today. Overt versus covert carry. It's sure to be a good time. I'm probably going to hurt somebody's feelings. And at the end of the day, I don't care, because they're not my feelings, they're yours. And my job is not to look out for your well-being. If you're easily offended and hurt by random people on the internet, perhaps get off the internet. So what is overt carry? Overt carry is simply the art of carrying a firearm exposed, openly, right? It's not concealed. So overt carry would be something like this Shadow Systems for the YouTube Nazis. This thing's clear. It's just got a mag in it. And I'm in a safe area of my home, which I maintenance and work on firearms. There's actually Kevlar paneling on that wall for me to do dry fire down here. So this is an overt situation. This tumor hanging off of your hip is noticeable to people. But one of the bigger parts where people bring up overt and covert carry is when we talk about rifles, right? Because you sling your rifle because you're a badass, right? Covert and overt carry. Now, covert carry is not something that you're typically going to see with a rifle, because there's really no good way to covertly carry a freaking full-size rifle. I mean, that's a big-ass gun. Like, it's not going to happen. But this also applies to things like knives and handguns, right? You can easily conceal knives. In fact, I conceal knives. I've got some new knives coming in from ShivWorks right now. So I conceal carry knives. I mean, everybody's got their favorite pocket knife, like this Paramilitary 2 and Crew Carter. Like, everybody's got that, right? And we all do that part. But it also applies to handguns, knives, even medical gear and spare magazines. Like, all of this can be concealed depending on the environment in which you're in. Now, there's a reason we conceal things, and people are always like, concealed carry is a right. Concealed carry is actually not a right. If we want to go back and really look at it traditionally, the only people that ever concealed weapons were people that were concealing intentions and were actually bad guys. Everybody just open carried. And then the landscape changed. Everybody wants to talk about the degradation of rights and stuff like that, but we can't deny the fact that the landscape that we live in changed. Right? It's called progress, innovation. Times change. We have to change with them to maintain any kind of an efficacy in the current world. But we can never go back and be like, it's that back in my day speech. But back in my day, concealed carrying was something only bad guys did. So we don't want to necessarily be associated with the historical nature of concealing a weapon. But nowadays we can. And that's the way you should be carried most of the time. So let's address this major pitfall that I spoke of that reared its head in the other video. Open carrying a rifle, and the reason I say that this is a pitfall, this is a weird cultural phenomenon that we saw only recently, and it was in response to a lot of draconian gun laws trying to be passed, and people were peacefully protesting their right to open carry a firearm. You saw this a lot in Texas, Virginia, what have you, where guys were actively walking around in protest and in marches and in gatherings and demonstrations with slung ARs and full kit. And it had a purpose. There was a time and a place, and we were all there, and we understood the message, and we made a real impact doing it. But something, not outside of that context, you saying something is a form of protest or exercising your rights is usually going to have the opposite effect if we're not at like a formalized event. And you need to understand that going in. Like, that's not the cops being a dick. That's reality. Remember, the landscape you live in is not this weird dystopian nightmare fuel you've led yourself to believe. It is also not the Wild West. And people don't walk around with slung ARs in the business district of your small town. It doesn't happen. There is a time and a place to protest. And I 100% agree with your right to protest. I 100% agree with you making a difference. Hell, I'll come march with you. There's a time and a place. And unfortunately, walking around downtown or your local business district with a slung rifle and full kit on typically is going to have the opposite effect of what you're looking for. It's an attention-seeking behavior. No matter what, even if it's a protest, it's an attention-seeking behavior. The objective of a protest, which is the reason they're organized when we do this, is because we are creating discomfort and causing a conversation that makes people address the fact that this is not being taken seriously, and we're making an impact or a change by our form of peaceful protest. There's a purpose and a verbiage behind the mission that we're doing, and it's not just a random dude in full kit downtown. But what you see now, and this has been more cultural, it's happened all over the place, like in Florida, a guy with a slung AR walking up and down a fishing pier in a tourist town. What do you think is going to happen? Think about, again, your modern landscape. I didn't say your feelings. I said the modern landscape in which you live in. The overwhelming majority of the sheeple people all over America have been conditioned that a guy with a slung rifle is a threat and they should call law enforcement immediately. Because normal people are afraid of guns, right? Like your overwhelming mass of normal people, right? So if we thought of average Joe Blow coming from a larger city, seeing a guy with a rifle is so out of context, it's terrifying. Personally, if I saw you with a rifle slung, I'd be like, cool rifle. I don't care, but I'm a gun guy. As much as we want to believe it, we are not the majority, right? We speak on a larger platform because it's a constitutional right. But gun owners are not the majority. We are vastly outnumbered by people that have very few to no guns and understand less about them than they own. This is important stuff. But if all you're doing is running around downtown because you want that attention-seeking behavior, what you're going to end up with is a constant interaction with law enforcement. The problem now in the new culture phenomenon is people are doing it with the intention of having some kind of a negative discourse with law enforcement. They want people to call the police because they want to tell the police how it's my right. But your rights don't infringe on someone else's safety. And no matter how you view it or whether I agree with you or not, that little old lady at that cafe has a right to feel safe in whatever space she's in. And if the sudden presence of an armed dude in full kit ready to battle the Russians on Red Dawn Scenario 1.0 is standing outside of this cafe, she's not going to understand. She doesn't care. She's going to call the cops. The cops are going to show up. You're going to have an interaction with them that's going to end negatively because you're all about exposing your rights and all those cops are pigs. Those things are going to clash. No matter how you look at it, modern society, a dude walking around with a slung rifle is not common. We're not going to make it common by showing up ones and twos at a time in your local downtown business district. Want to change it? Organize a real protest, talk to your lawmakers, and do the protest where it matters. Your downtown at Denny's is not the same thing as on the steps of your Capitol building. Uncomfortable truth about protest and how to make a difference. You want to make a difference? Do it where it matters. Do it where the people that you want to listen to you are. Don't do it downtown and then get pissed off when little Peggy Sue sitting over there eating her omelet in the morning is freaked out because there's some dude in full multicam and a rifle standing outside with a face mask on, right? You can't blame her for being scared because it's not normal behavior. She's not used to seeing it and it's not okay with her. And you have to understand that because, again, part of being a gun owner is understanding how to be a good steward of the Second Amendment. And scaring the shit out of some little old lady eating at the diner downtown is not being a good steward of the Second Amendment. Again, time and a place. Fully love the fact that you can protest, and we made real differences doing that in places like Texas. But then again, in places like Texas, they didn't scare the shit out of grandma at the local diner either. There was a reason to the madness. Which brings me to a next point about covert and overt carry. And this is a big one. So in the back, that one was loud. Pay attention. It's mindset. The other issue I see all the time with open and overt carrying is the people don't have a good mindset. They are hostile or aggressive or uncooperative or intimidating because they know they're right. But what happens is it doesn't matter. You're not going to get through to anybody, and everybody's turned off because you're hostile, you're aggressive, and you're intimidating people by your presence or the way you're acting. Dude, I've walked around my town with a slung rifle. I didn't scare anybody. You know why? Because I'm a genuinely nice guy. Unless I need to be a not nice guy. But acting hostile and aggressive with a general I don't give a crap about you, so go F yourself attitude, is always going to undermine your message that you're trying to accomplish by holding these kinds of a demonstration. Instead of being humble and educating people. See, I bet you didn't see it going that way, but that's real life. Being humble and nice and being an educator instead of a, "If you, it's my right," you're going to get a lot further. You know, you catch more with honey than you do with salt, right? That kind of a world. So why would people ever choose to open carry? When the probability of you being in a gunfight on that day exceeds the probability of you not getting into a gunfight that day if you leave your house, yeah, you probably need to be open carrying, right? Reality. I'm talking gunfights more than half the time you leave your house. Being afraid that it could happen, though, is not the same thing. If ain't nobody been in a gunfight within 300 miles of where you live and you're worried that it could happen, today's the day, that's fear. And that's not the same thing as it being a legitimate threat. So let's say that shit has indeed struck the proverbial wind oscillation device, right? Let's say that's actually taken place. So let's look at some pros and cons, right? Shall we? Rifles. Cons, man. You escalate simply by your presence. I don't care. It doesn't matter that they don't understand. You escalate the situation by having a slung rifle. It's just reality. Again, time and place. You're not going to fix it in a day. Understand it's a marathon, not a sprint. And your mindset and you looking intimidating and aggressive everywhere you go, it doesn't matter. You're never going to change anyone's perspective. You need to be humble and nice and educated and educate other people and come at it from that angle. But you're going to escalate a situation merely by the presence of you with a slung rifle. Happened to Kyle Rittenhouse. You are insanely noticeable. People may not pay attention to crap, but that dude with a rifle and a plate carrier, they remember you. People are absolutely afraid of you. Because again, in normal society, civilized society, right now, it's not common to see a guy in a full plate carrier and a rifle. It scares people because it's different. You have to be compassionate to the fact that you scared the crap out of Barbara Sue at the diner. You can become a target because you're armed. Let's face it, right? You start messing with the wrong people, you're liable to get shot. You become a target real fast because you are already aggressively displaying stuff to other people, right? Again, mindset goes a long way. Your actions and attitude change the dynamic completely of you open carrying a rifle. If your mannerisms and actions don't indicate a threat, instead of you trying to look like a hard ass, which does convey a threat. Your awareness has to be off the charts high, and that's exhausting. I don't care what anybody says. Being hyper-vigilant, condition red awareness all the time is taxing on your system, and you're tiring, and you'll start missing stuff. For the most part, and this is a pro, people are going to leave you alone. But there's a con to it, which is the people that do come to you are real. They're the real ones, man. They're the ones that are going to end you for what you're doing because you've got an open rifle and they just walked up to your ass. You are literally the farthest thing on the planet from gray. That's another big con. But what are some pros? Easy access. So right in a post-SHTF world, things are going sideways. Gunfights are happening all the time. You want easy access to that rifle. So yeah, easy access. You can wear all of your support gear if we're doing open carrying on a rifle. And again, that people avoid you all the way around for the most part because you're just a part of the landscape, but you're a dangerous part of the landscape. So we're going to give you some extra space. So what about handguns, right? So we open carry handguns. Your pros, easy access. Super big deal, right? That's the driving force behind open carrying a handgun. It's a lot easier to retain a handgun than a rifle if you're open carrying. You can use a handgun one-handed. Super important. Fight people off, pick up a loved one and run, whatever. You can still draw and engage. You can actually still conceal it, even in outside the waistband. If you needed to go a little more incognito, throw on a jacket around yourself. You're fine. It's more normal, locale dependent, to see a guy with an open carried handgun. So probably not going to raise as many suspicions, and the support gear for a handgun is pretty minimal. Now the cons are it can cause an escalation, because if you show up and you're trying to de-escalate a situation and a dude's got a gun, it escalates, right? Doesn't matter. It's just society. You have to have a heightened amount of awareness. Remember, that's exhausting. 90% of people that open carry a firearm never train retention, and that's insane to me, because law enforcement trains retention like really heavily. You reach for my gun, I'm breaking some things. You're not getting my gun, and you're gonna draw back a nub. So guns just make people nervous in general. The overall overwhelming amount of society that aren't gun owners get nervous when they see guns. It just happens, right? It's uneducation caused by the liberal, amazing, fantastic magic box on the wall. People have been told for years now that guns are bad and people that are carrying guns are scary mass shooter people, right? They've been told that, so they believe it because people are sheep. You ain't John Wick, that's the other one. So in either case, you need to be really capable at fighting and defending yourself with your hands, because guns are not the first option. Guns are never the first option unless that dude that's the problem is about to end you first. So guns are never the number one choice. You need to be able to de-escalate, fight, get away, do all these other things before you engage in a gunfight. Because there's a 50-50 shot you lose that gunfight, but there's a 100% chance you live for fight another day if you know how to de-escalate and get away because you didn't get into a gunfight. So in either scenario though, covert, overt, there's always a trade-off, right? If we're covert carried, we have less access to stuff. If we're overtly carried, we may cause tensions to rise just by our presence. So let's look at the stages. If you remember the stages from the Fighting After SHTF video, stage 4, right? CCW, man. Carried inside your waistband, CCW, still clear. Spare magazine, that's my jam, that's what I go to. I always carry a third mag in my backpack that's with me. If we move into like stage 3, larger CCW carried outside the waistband under a jacket. All right, we got a more capable platform, 2 mags on the belt, so we have a little extra ammo at that point. And then some spares in a bag. Now, if we move up to the battle belt scenario, so level 2, things are getting hairy and a little weird, right? This is when overt carry becomes the normal carry. So now we're talking about some kind of a battle belt. Handguns, support gear for your handguns, medical kit, a rifle mag on your belt, close reach. And then we're talking about having something like this Ruger AR-556 duty rifle broken down and maybe in your backpack with you or in very close proximity to you in a vehicle. Because if you need it then. And then number 1, stage 1, that's a war footing. Stage 1 is completely overt chest rigs, but plate carriers are going to be preferred at this point. You're talking about a slung rifle with additional ammo on you, in the vehicle, around you, because life is very uncertain. And you don't need to escalate anything because everything is already escalated any freaking way. So that's the difference between overt and covert carry. Weapons are meant to be felt and not seen, right? Simple things like this ASP Agent baton, right? This is an ASP Agent 40. So this is an aluminum expandable baton, right? This is a really excellent device for like law enforcement guys, right? Here's the thing, if you're not law enforcement, check your local laws, because a lot of places ASPs fall under what's known as other weapons, which is where like things like brass knuckles and punch daggers exist. And that crap is illegal for cops too. So make note, if it is illegal for you to carry something like this though, this is an excellent intermediate tool, but you need training because there are certain things you can't do with this. Like you can't crack no dude in the neck or the head. You need to learn how to use it. But having options is important, but you need to understand and hold on to the fact that the world is not the world you think it is in your head. There's not hidden masses of people who fully support you running around with a rifle in downtown business district while people are trying to eat their brunch at Denny's on Sunday. You're gonna freak people out, which turns them off to supporting our cause. Think about it, guys. Do better. It's not always about just you or me. It's about it as a whole. Be less selfish, do things for the good of the whole. So guys, I am Uncle Freedom. Hopefully you found this informative. Thanks for hanging out with me today. So take care of yourself, take care of each other. And until next time, I'll see you later.